We're joined today by Ashley Hewitt. She is the chair of the Prison Libraries Committee. Now, many of our listeners may not know what the Prison Libraries Committee is. Can you just let us know what it is?
Sure. So the Prison Libraries Committee is a group of volunteers that was formed by the Manitoba Library Association in 2012. And we provide library collections, programming, and library awareness for justice-involved people in Manitoba's provincial prisons.
Why is it so important to have something like this access to books?
So I think people are often surprised that most prisons actually don't have libraries. Unfortunately, in Manitoba, like most provinces, provincial prisons are not mandated to have libraries or provide access to books and library programming. And when people become incarcerated, of course, their rights to information don't disappear. But when there's no systems in place to really ensure that those information rights are fulfilled, they're kind of overlooked. So our prisons tend to be quite information depriving, and it is a human right. People need access to books and information, of course, for all sorts of reasons. So folks in prisons, they might need information for health, legal information, resources to support their education, but it's also important just things like hobbies. Books, of course, are also, a way to access culture, spirituality, art. They're important just for recreation and leisure as well. So a lot of the work that we do is just mitigating this lack of access to libraries through our volunteer work. And we provide at least some level of support to all 6 prisons in the province. And none of these institutions would have functioning library services or quality book collections if we were not doing this work.
So tell us a little bit about what this looks like. Do you go in with carts? Do you actually set up a
Mhm.
library? How does that work?
So a big part of what we do is sending books into the prisons. We focus on well-curated collections. In several prisons, we also have volunteers that go in and they either set up a room of books or a display of books, and then inmates can come through and look at them, or we're kind of collecting books and bringing them down to units. And that's always really important to have that face-to-face interaction, just to chat about books, talk about them, help people find things. And our huge focus is well-curated book collections. We really try to ensure that the books we're bringing in reflect the requests of prisoners. And they ask for a wide range of things. So we have plenty of, fiction, thrillers, also classics, biographies, nonfiction, graphic novels. But probably our most requested items are Indigenous books, especially Indigenous language learning books are really high in demand. Um, and so this is in part because Canada has a really stark overrepresentation of Indigenous peoples, also people of color in our prisons. And as the Prison Libraries Committee really tries to reflect on the Truth and Reconciliation calls to commission action, we think it's really essential that incarcerated people have access to books about and by Indigenous peoples. So that's a big focus of our collection. But our books are probably our core service. And going in and getting to talk to people about books is one of the core things we do. We also provide an email reference service. And this is something that our volunteer librarians offer. So folks in prisons don't have access to computers or to the internet. So you can imagine if you have a really specific question you need an answer to, sometimes
Mm.
books are not the right kind of method. So this is a service that allows folks to ask a very specific question and our volunteers try to get that information to them. And then beyond books and information, we also provide a lot of creative workshops and programming because books are important, but we also think it's really vital that folks have a space to share their voice and to express themselves. So our volunteers also run things. They go into the prisons and run book clubs, writing circles, art workshops. We also sometimes bring in local professional authors or songwriters to do talks or run workshops as well. We also have a lot of volunteers that do things behind the scenes where they may not be going into prisons. There's a lot of coordination and all sorts of other things happening. And we have folks that are not in Winnipeg, that are more remotely in other parts of the province, that do remote volunteer work for us as well.
Have you had the opportunity to go into the prison and chat with some of these prisoners?
Yeah, I for a long time went into the Women's Correction Center to do our book exchanges. So that's again where we're setting up books and chatting with folks about books. Um, but we have several prisons that we actually go into, but I personally used to do that one quite often.
Tell us about that experience because something as simple as a book can be life-changing in some situations.
Yeah, I find it's always such um, an interesting experience. Everyone's so excited. I think folks are just excited to have people come in, that want to be there, that are not just staff from the prison. When we're setting up the books at the Women's Center, they're just so excited. They're always like peeking in through the glass, trying to see all the books. And it's really wonderful to see folks too recommending books to one another. Grabbing a friend and saying like, "I know you'd love this book. It made me cry," or this one made me laugh. And and then also being able to find something that people are really looking for and to give that to them is always so great, and it can be a lot of fun. I feel like we often leave there so happy because it's such a wonderful experience, but at the same time I get to leave that space and they don't, which is hard. But I think the books are really important. You can imagine when you're in a cell for most of your day, you might have programming, other things happening. But the books are really a way of giving people a chance to connect with the outside world, give that kind of third space where people can sort of escape the confines that they're in.
The beautiful change of atmosphere and something that can be quite challenging. Right now, there is a book drive that is benefiting all of this. Tell us a little bit about that book drive.
Yes. So this book drive that's currently underway is actually all working towards our annual book and bake sale. So this is an event that takes place on Saturday, June 22nd at the West End Commons from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's a fundraiser we do in partnership with another community organization called the Bar None Prison Rideshare Program. So a lot of prisons are located in places that are not accessible by public transit. So Bar None offers free rides for people to visit their loved ones in prisons. And we do this big book sale together every year. So the first kind of step towards this is that we run a big book drive. So we collect books all over the city. If folks are interested in contributing, if you want to kind of weed your personal bookshelves, we accept high quality, gently used books. Essentially, we want books that people, actually want to read. Um, and there are pickup locations at several public libraries, Millennium, St. John's Assiniboine, Henderson, St. Vital, as well as Eda Bakery in the West End and Time Cafe in St. Boniface. And all the books that are collected through this drive go in the sale. We do pull some to go straight to prison libraries as well. And the book sale is also a really great event if you're interested in building your personal collection of books. It's a pay what you can event. So it is a fundraiser, but we also want to, support our community and help folks have accessible ways to build their own personal libraries. And there's a wide range of books, everything from children's books, nonfiction, fiction. So if you are a book lover, both the drive and the book sale are a really simple way to support incarcerated people and their families as well.
Again, can you let us know when and where that's happening?
Yes. So it's Saturday, June 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the West End Commons at 641 St. Matthews. The details will also be on our website. Prison Libraries Committee also has a Facebook and Instagram, and we share all sorts of information and behind the scenes and some sneak previews of the books as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much.